Tomorrow, the SPC has issued a slight risk across the Central Plains and Upper Midwest, and the extended outlook pushes to 30% probabilities Saturday and Sunday. This is a multi-day severe weather pattern, and it starts building now. Good morning. Doppler Online. Wednesday, April 22nd, 2026. SPC Severe Weather Briefing. Tomorrow's threat puts roughly 8 million people in the crosshairs from Wichita to Minneapolis. If you live anywhere along the Interstate 35 corridor, this is your briefing. Stay with me. The ingredient that makes tomorrow dangerous is a strengthening low-level jet pulling deep Gulf moisture northward into an increasingly unstable air mass across the Central Plains. As that moisture intersects a sharpening surface boundary, discrete supercells, rotating thunderstorms capable of producing tornadoes, become the favored storm mode by tomorrow afternoon. Discrete initiation means individual storms with room to breathe and rotate. That is when the tornado threat climbs. Let me show you the maps. On your screen now is the GFS 250 millibar jet stream forecast. You can see the upper-level jet amplifying across the southern Rockies and ejecting northeast into the Central Plains by Thursday afternoon. A speed maximum, a jet streak, parks itself right over western Kansas into Nebraska, and the right entrance region of that jet streak provides dynamic lift directly over the threat zone. This is the engine driving the entire pattern. This next animation shows the 500 millibar height trend over the next 48 hours. A deep trough is digging south out of the northern Rockies and sharpening as it moves east. That deepening trough is the reason this threat escalates from marginal today to slight tomorrow and persists into the weekend. Now looking at 850 millibar winds. The low-level jet ramps to 40 knots or more out of the south-southwest by Thursday evening, aimed like a fire hose from the western Gulf Strait into eastern Kansas and central Nebraska. That transport path aligns perfectly with the surface boundary draped across the threat area. This map shows warm air advection and frontogenetical forcing at 850 millibars. The strongest warm advection values stack along and just ahead of the advancing warm front from the Wichita Metro northeast through the Omaha Metro. That is where the boundary is tightening most aggressively and where lift will be maximized for storm initiation. On your screen now is surface-based CAPE overlaid with wind shear crossovers. Instability builds through the afternoon, with CAPE values climbing across eastern Kansas into western Missouri and southern Nebraska. Where those CAPE values overlap the directional wind shear crossover contours, you have the highest supercell and tornado potential. That overlap zone sits squarely over the slight risk area from Wichita through Kansas City to Omaha. Now looking at 850 millibar temperature and wind. Temperatures at this level are running well above normal across the southern plains, confirming the warm and moist air mass already in place. The surface low tracks northeast through central Kansas, and the low-level inflow orients south-southwesterly into the warm sector, feeding storms right along and ahead of the boundary. Now here is the Day 2 categorical outlook map. The slight risk zone stretches from south-central Kansas through eastern Nebraska into southern Minnesota. Based on this setup, the primary threats include tornadoes, large hail, and damaging straight-line winds. Tornadoes are the lead concern with discrete supercells along and near the warm front during the late afternoon and evening hours. If you are in this zone, your safe space needs to be identified before tomorrow afternoon. Large hail, potentially 2 inches or greater, is likely with any sustained supercell in the warm sector. Vehicles left outside take damage at that size. If you can garage your car tomorrow afternoon, do it. Damaging winds become the dominant threat as storms potentially congeal into a line during the evening hours. Wind damage spreads across a wider footprint than tornadoes, which means more people are exposed even if the tornado threat decreases after dark. Today carries a marginal risk. Isolated strong storms are possible across parts of the southern plains, but the cap is holding for now and coverage should remain limited. Day 3, Friday, also carries a slight risk as the system progresses eastward into the mid-Mississippi Valley region. Let me walk you through exactly who is in the threat zone tomorrow using only what the SPC has verified. The highest risk cities sit inside the slight risk area. Wichita, Kansas is at the southern anchor. Kansas City, Missouri sits right along the warm front. Omaha, Nebraska is in the core of the low-level jet's moisture transport. Des Moines, Iowa catches the northeastern extension, and Minneapolis, Minnesota sits at the far northern edge of the slight zone, where instability will be lower, but storms could still reach severe criteria. Surrounding that slight zone is a ring of marginal risk cities. To the south, Oklahoma City and Tulsa are on the southern fringe where the cap may limit storm coverage, but any storm that breaks through will have enormous energy to work with. Springfield, Missouri and St. Louis sit on the eastern edge where storms could reach you by late evening. Sioux Falls, South Dakota, is on the northwestern margin. Milwaukee, Wisconsin catches the far northeastern periphery. If your city is in the slight zone, you need a plan finalized tonight. If you are in the marginal zone, stay alert and monitor updates through the day tomorrow. On your screen now is the GFS simulated radar forecast through the next 4 days. This is a lower resolution model product, so we are looking at the broad storm track and timing, not individual cells. You can see precipitation developing across central Kansas by late Thursday afternoon, roughly between 3 and 5 p.m. Central Time. Storms push northeast through the evening, reaching the Kansas City metro by 7 to 9 p.m. and the Des Moines area by late evening into the overnight hours. This is critical. Overnight severe weather is more dangerous because people are asleep and less likely to hear warnings. If you are in the slight zone, charge your phone tonight and make sure weather alerts are turned on before you go to bed tomorrow night. The threat window closes across the primary zone by Friday morning as the system pushes east. No watches or warnings are active at this time. That is expected. Watches for tomorrow will likely be issued by mid to late morning Thursday as the SPC gets higher resolution model data and the environment begins to prime. When a watch is issued for your area, that means conditions are favorable for severe storms. Move to a ready posture. Know where your shelter is. Keep shoes on. Have your phone charged. Now the multi-day picture, and this is where I need your attention. The day 3 slight risk on Friday shifts the threat into the mid-Mississippi Valley. Saturday, day 4, the SPC extended outlook jumps to 30% severe probability. Sunday holds at 30% as well. Those are enhanced equivalent values, and they suggest this pattern has the potential to produce a significant multi-day outbreak. Monday still carries a 15% probability. The pattern does not fully break down until early next week. We are likely looking at a 5-day stretch of elevated severe weather potential, and the weekend could be the most dangerous window. I will have much more detail on Saturday and Sunday's threats as we get closer and the data sharpens. I am putting the action plan on your screen right now. Step 1. Identify your safe room or shelter tonight. Interior room on the lowest floor away from windows. Step 2. Charge all devices and enable wireless emergency alerts on every phone in your household before bed tomorrow. Step 3. If you are in the slight zone, have a way to receive warnings that will wake you up, a weather radio, or a phone with alerts set to override silent mode. Step 4. Brief every member of your household on where to go if a warning is issued. The weekend extended outlook suggests this pattern may intensify further, so stay engaged with these briefings through the week. I want to hear from you. If you are in the threat zone from Wichita to Minneapolis, drop a comment and tell me how you are preparing. Are your alerts set? Do you have a shelter plan? Let me know where you are watching from. Doppler tracking. Stay weather aware and keep your alerts on. End transmission.